A modern human stands on the last living branch of a broken family tree. Around him, other faces are already fading into dust. Not monsters, not animals, not rough drafts. Other humans. And from here, the story feels obvious. We survived, so we must have been the best. That is probably the first mistake. Evolution does not hand trophies to the superior branch. Sometimes the last branch is simply the one that stayed connected, moved at the right time, mixed with the right groups, and survived the pressures that erased the rest. So this is not just a story about where the other humans went. It's about why only one kind of human is still here to ask. Today, it's hard to hear the word human as a plural. You walk through a museum, see a skull behind glass, and your brain quietly sorts it into the past. Old bones, ancient relatives, something that came before us. And that little sorting habit matters, because for a long time, Homo sapiens were not the only humans on Earth. Modern life makes that almost impossible to feel. Your passport says human, your mirror says human, every face in your family photos belongs to the same surviving kind. So it becomes easy to imagine one clean road leading here, a road with us at the end. But evolutionary anthropology gives the picture a different shape.
Not a ladder, a tree, a branching, broken, uncomfortable family tree where different human groups lived in different bodies, different climates, and different dangers. A Neanderthal was not a costume version of us. A Denisovan was not a failed draft. And Homo erectus was not standing in the background, waiting for Homo sapiens to become the point. That is the arrogant version of the story. The older story is stranger. They were human branches, shaped by cold, distance, hunger, tools, fire, movement, and time.
Some were close enough to meet us. Some were distant enough to feel almost impossible now. But they were not background characters. They were other ways of being human. That distinction matters, because if human history's a ladder, then our survival feels like proof. But if human history's a tree, then survival looks less like destiny and more like the last branch that didn't break. Human was a family, not a finish line. And once you see that, the question changes. The strange part is not only that the others disappeared, the strange part is that we learned to call the remaining branch the whole tree.
A broken branch is easy to judge once it's already gone. You look at a vanished human group, and the modern mind wants to say, they lost, we won. But that is a very modern way to misunderstand evolution. A Neanderthal was not a weaker human waiting to be replaced. A small island human was not a broken version of a larger one. And an older human species was not less real just because it did not end in us. Each body was an answer to a place. A cold place can reward a shorter, stronger body. An island can reward a smaller one. Long movement across open land can reward endurance, distance, and the ability to keep going when the next safe place is far away. That distinction matters. Survival is not about status. It's about fit.
And fit can change. A trait that works beautifully for thousands of years can become fragile when the weather shifts, food moves, groups shrink, or strangers arrive with different tools and different risks. That can happen to entire populations. Not dramatically at first, quietly. One group loses too many adults, another loses too many children, another becomes too isolated to find enough mates, another survives the cold, but loses the people who knew where to go next. Researchers call one version of this a population bottleneck. In plain terms, it means the group becomes so narrow that one bad season can squeeze the future out of it. Not because they were stupid, not because they were unfinished, because living groups are fragile when the world changes faster than they can reconnect. Modern life makes this hard to feel. We live surrounded by rankings. New models, old models, winners, upgrades, better versions. So when only one human branch is left, we want a scoreboard. We rarely say it out loud, but the assumption is there. If they disappeared, maybe they deserved to. That is the ugly little shortcut. But ancient survival was not a clean contest. It was weather, distance, hunger, birth, death, contact, separation, and luck pressing on small living groups for thousands of years. Vanished does not mean failed. It may only mean a branch became too small, too isolated, or too exposed when the world changed the question. And that makes the next layer more unsettling. Maybe Homo sapiens did not survive because one brain was always better. Maybe we survived because more brains stayed connected. Imagine the human world at night. Not as countries, not as empires, just fires scattered across dark land. One fire is close to a river. Another is near stone that breaks into sharp edges. Another knows where the animals cross when the season turns. Another remembers which plants are only safe after they are cooked. Now, imagine one group loses a hunter. Another loses an elder. Another loses the person who knew where water returns after a dry season. That kind of loss is not just sad. It is dangerous. Because in a small group, a person is not only a person. A person can be a map, a warning, a lesson about tools, a memory of the last famine, a way to survive winter without ever calling it science. And when that person is gone, the group may not only lose a body, it may lose an answer. This is where connection matters. If groups meet, trade, copy, marry, visit, watch, and learn from one another, one campfire can carry what another campfire loses. A better tool shape does not have to stay inside one skull. A safer route does not have to die with one walker.
A warning about a dangerous valley can move from mouth to mouth until people who never saw the danger still survive because of it. Anthropologists call part of this cultural transmission. In plain language, it means useful knowledge can move from one mind into another, and that is a strange kind of inheritance. Not bone, not blood, behavior. A way to cut, a way to cook, a way to find. A way to avoid becoming the group that learns too late. This may be one reason Homo sapiens became harder to erase. Not because every sapiens brain was better than every Neanderthal brain. That explanation is too easy. And honestly, it is a little flattering. The more unsettling possibility is that our advantage may have been less about one superior mind and more about many ordinary minds staying linked. A single smart brain can disappear. A connected network can recover. That distinction matters.
Because when one small group is isolated, every death can remove part of the future. But when groups stay connected, knowledge has more places to hide. More children hear it. More adults test it. More strangers improve it. More campfires keep it warm. That is population resilience in plain language. More links give a living group more chances. Modern life makes this hard to feel because we are trained to see survival like a trophy. The winner remains, the loser disappears. The museum glass quietly agrees. But ancient DNA complicates that clean little story. Some Neanderthal and Denisovan traces still live inside people today. So even disappearance was not always a clean ending. Some branches broke, some mixed, some vanished as separate groups, but not completely from the living human body. Which means the last branch of the tree is not a crown. It is not proof that we were always better. It is a survivor, carrying pieces of a family it barely remembers. Survival is not superiority. It is continuity under pressure.
So where did the other humans go? There probably wasn't just one answer. Some may have been absorbed into larger groups. Some were likely outcompeted. Some may have become too small, too isolated, or too exposed when the climate shifted, food moved, and old routes stopped working. And some didn't fully disappear. Traces of Neanderthals and Denisovans still move through living human bodies today. That part matters because it means disappearance was not always a clean ending. Some human branches broke, some mixed, some faded as separate groups, while pieces of them stayed alive inside the branch that remained. The old story is simple. We are still here, so we must have been the best. It is a comforting thought. It is also a suspicious one, because evolution does not leave behind a trophy shelf. It leaves bodies that kept going. A crown says one branch deserved to win. A living branch only says it survived the pressure long enough to keep growing. That is the quieter distinction. Survival is not the same as superiority. And once you see that, the word human feels strange again. It used to mean a family. Now it means the last visible face of that family. Not the whole tree, just the branch still breathing. And the next question is even stranger. If connection helped humans survive, why does modern life make so many humans feel alone?